friends. My name is the Dyslexic Cosplayer, and I think it's time we take a look at Blake 7. Today, episode 22, Countdown. We open on the planet Albion, where it seems Blake's efforts to stir up unrest with the outer colonies is going quite well. Clearly, the Federation is not prepared for this level of force to be used against them. Realizing that all is lost, Space Lieutenant Provine, the commander of the base, enacts their ultimate solution to the problem, before trying to sneak out. What is that ultimate solution, and why do the resistors seem to be so terrified? Well, Blake and his crew get involved when they get a distress signal from the planet with the hashtag, "Please send help, we're all dead already." After they teleport down, they discover one of the primary features of the base is a short-range rocket pod, and spend about 5 minutes playing with the on-off switch for the thing. Oh, such great stakes, such wonderful use of your time, that's all I've got to say. In the interim, one of the resistance leaders is attacked by Space Lieutenant Provine. But while all of that has happened, Blake has made contact with the rebels, and they have decided not to shoot him for the time being. Well, that's very generous of them. So finally, we get down to what's going on. The device that was triggered by Provine is a solium radiation generator. Once in fission, solium produces incredibly lethal radiation that kills anything organic in a matter of moments. And it dissipates very quickly, so its half-life is only a few hours. Thus, they can eradicate the entire population of the planet, but leave all the infrastructure firmly intact. And that was how the Federation was able to retain control over the planet for so long. Also addressing why the rocket's here and why it's so important. Provine's planning on using it to escape the carnage that he's about to reap, and then he'll be able to return once everyone's dead. Unfortunately for him, Villa messed with the controls so he can't get the pod bay doors open. After killing one of the rebels, he takes on his identity in order to find a replacement control chip so he can open the pod bay doors. Back over with Blake, he recognizes hardened resistance fighters. These are not those. These are just regular working folks. And the leader of the resistance does admit that yes, they actually hired a professional to provide them some assistance. A Del Grant. To help arm and organize them for a fairly substantial fee. Avon seems a little taken aback by the name. Avon, what's the matter? Oh, it's nothing. I was just a little surprised, that's all. Why? Do you know him? I once knew a man named Del Grant, but that was a long time ago. I'm sure it's not the same man. You don't seem very eager to find out. Why? There are matters that remain to be settled between us. Like what? I told you, it's not important. If it's not important, then why does his name have such a strong effect upon you? Because the Del Grant that I knew said that if we ever met again, he would kill me. Yeah, that would be pretty memorable, for sure. Well, with only a half an hour remaining before the bomb goes off, Villa teleports back up to Liberator in order to try and figure out where the bomb actually is located. In the meantime, Blake meets with Del Grant. They're both kind of in the same business, it's just one of them works pro bono. And that's when Del meets Avon, and it becomes apparent that yes, this is the same Del Grant that Avon knew in the days gone by. Fortunately, he doesn't seem to be shooting Avon yet. A convenient distraction arrives in the form of the guard that was knocked out by Space Lieutenant Provine earlier. After a quick investigation of the escape tunnel, they come to the same conclusion that the audience already knows, that being he's stolen a resistance uniform and is now wandering around the base. While Blake is stressing out about their mission, Del and Avon take this opportunity to discuss their past. And I'll get into that a little bit later in the episode, but the writers do a great job of keeping the details just vague enough that you have to fill in some of the details yourself while still managing to have a compelling story. Meanwhile, Villa has returned with the details that he's managed to get from the computer. What they've been messing around with this entire time is just the activation system. The actual radiation device is located near the North Pole, in a region that's so cold you'd basically need space equipment to interact with it. Normally, there'd be no conventional way to get there in time, but Avon volunteers to teleport there to deactivate the device. Del volunteers to go along, so that way if Avon doesn't make good on his promise, he can kill him properly before they all die from the radiation. Priorities, man. Once they get to the coordinates that were specified, they find out it's under 2 miles of ice, which is always a great start. Then, initially, they can't find the device, only for it to turn out to be hidden under the floor and through a solid chunk of ice.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking.
I also enjoy how the editor has to work overtime here to try and convince us that this ice is hard to chip into, when it's pretty clear that somebody's pulling their punches. So once it becomes clear they're going to be here a while, Avon has Dell turn on the heat while he grabs a thermal lance, hoping that they don't inadvertently set off the mercury detonator for the device. What, you're telling me it needed more fail-safes? Jeez! A little bit later, they've clearly managed to extract the device, and they can see that the countdown is not in their favor. So while they try and work their way through the next set of safeguards, let's talk about why Dell wants to kill Avon, since the pair of them feel that this is a good time to do the same thing. It turns out that Dell and Avon actually used to be friends. They used to have a relationship with a woman whose name completely escapes me. But either way, Avon promised to try and get her out of a city under Federation control. From Dell's perspective, he abandoned her and she was tortured for information by the Federation to death. According to Avon, he was betrayed by the guy that gave him the passports and was left unconscious for 3 days from blood loss, so wasn't able to get to her in time. Which of these stories is true? We'll get to that into the character analysis a little bit later. Because if things weren't complicated enough, it turns out that the heater they turned on earlier has started to cause the ice around them to melt, meaning that the room is flooding and starting to collapse, all while they're still trying to disarm the radiation device. Seriously, can these people catch a break?
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
Meanwhile, in the subplot for the episode, Avon and the Resistance member managed to positively identify Space Lieutenant Provine. I'm sorry, that name always sounds like provolone to me. But anyway, well, coincidence of coincidence, he's one of the guards that has gone with Blake to double check on the rocket in order to prevent Provine from escaping. Somehow I have a sneaking suspicion that's not going to work out quite the way it was intended. In a scuffle over Provine's gun, it goes off, and we're unsure if it's killed Blake or Provine. Well, clearly it's killed Provine, otherwise the show couldn't be named Blake 7 from then on out. I mean, they wouldn't kill the title character, that would just be ridiculous. In his final moments, we find out why Blake wanted to find Provine. He's trying to interrogate him for information about Control, since it's no longer on Earth. Dockley, either out of spite or, I don't know, really narrative convenience, I guess, tells Blake that it's been relocated and it's now called Star 1. The only person who might know where to find it is a man named Dockley. And then he dies. Over with Dell and Avon, the clock's running out, but rather than risking being teleported out by Blake if he thinks the window of error has grown too small, they decide to throw away their bracelets and complete the task even if it kills them. I know you may think you're safe because you've got a main character with you, but that didn't save Gan! Well, with the room continuing to fill with water, they managed to remove the 3-step detonator system. Their only hope is to deactivate all 3, because if even one of them goes off, it'll start a chain reaction that sets off the radiation. I love how simple it is, just drilling a hole at the bottom of a plastic tube, and then sticking a pin into it. And I wanted to give them credit for predicting the invention of the cordless drill, but it turns out it was invented sometime in 1961. The situation gets even worse when part of the ceiling ends up collapsing, not only trapping Dell, but also causing him to lose the last pin they need to prevent the device from going off.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Avon manages to find a convenient nail and with literal seconds to spare, stops the device from detonating, thus saving both their lives. And I'm sure finding the teleport bracelets and all that freezing water is just simply wonderful. And the episode ends with Dell forgiving Avon and the planet remaining free, while Blake and his crew go off to try and find the mysterious Dockley. Next episode! So, what do I have to say about Countdown? Well, it's a really great episode, even if occasionally poorly paced. It still manages to keep the tension and suspense at a pretty good clip, without letting anything grow stale. It's nice to see other people taking initiative in the world to fight the Federation. Helps keep things nice and grounded and feeling from being too small. Something that shows like Star Trek occasionally fall down on. Provine's subplot mostly exists to provide a face to the evil of the Federation besides Travis and Servalon again, and to set up the plot thread of Dockley. But as a character, otherwise, he's just kind of your generic bad guy, not worth really thinking about. And credit to the writers, they managed to include some comedy without it distracting from the tension of the episode. Right, next. No, wait! I'm opposite you now. Left is the next one in the sequence. Your left. You don't get another guess. But what are we really here for? Let's talk about Avon and Dell's relationship. Like I said, the writers do a great job of managing to keep much of the detail shrouded in a polarized version of events based on the characters' perspectives, which helps motivate their interaction throughout the episode. And personally, I'm inclined to think Avon did intend to return for his lover and Dell's sister before passing out from blood loss when the deal went down. After all, we've seen time and again, even though Avon insists that he doesn't care about other people and is only out for himself, he's willing to put himself at risk for stupid reasons if it means saving the people he cares about. Which is why I'm skeptical about his sentiments during the duel when he said he didn't understand the need for people to become emotional and irrational just to show that they care. Another great episode to help flesh out Avon's character. Much like Mission to Destiny helps show how smart he is, this helps humanize him and reveal more layers. And I do believe that Dell totally would have killed Avon if they had failed. Well, I hope you all will join me for the next episode in the series. What can you expect? Well, do you want mummies? Because this is how you get mummies. We get mind control out of nowhere! And we get some politics that makes the Phantom Menace seem practically exciting by comparison. I hope you all will join me for episode 23, Voice from the Past. Until next time, sign-offs are hard. Hello, friends. I hope you're all enjoying Blake 7 as much as I am making the reviews of it. If you want to show your support for the series, check out their YouTube page, link in the description. And if you want to show support for this series, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I'm also doing other reviews all the time, and new series are always coming. And if you enjoy those, I have some original content that I'm creating, as well as a bunch of stuff over on my Patreon. Links for that and my Facebook page can be found in the description below. And now some special thanks for my patrons on Patreon. Drawn by Kenna, Jen Goodnight, Lucy Westera, Norm DePlume. Thank you all so much for your contributions and for making all of this possible.